Hey, what's up guys, it's Jupiter. Welcome to another video. If you ever considered buying a MIDI PC, you must have heard of Beelink, a Chinese company known for making quality but affordable MIDI PCs and TV boxes. The new Beelink U59 is a budget MIDI PC powered by the latest Celeron N5095 processor. In this video, I'm going to do a quick review of this computer. First, let's take a look at some of the specs. The packaging of the U59 is quite simple. There's nothing too fancy or destructive. You can see the key specifications on the back of the box. Inside the packaging, I have found a U59 MIDI PC, 2 HDMI cables, a mounting bracket, a 36-watt power adapter, a user manual, and a bag of screws. The U59 is pretty tiny. I have relatively small hands, yet I can still grab it with one hand. The top side of the MIDI PC has a glossy and reflective look. It may be attractive and easy on the eyes when it's clean, but unfortunately, it is way too much of a fingerprint magnet and also easily collects scratches. Unsurprisingly, this device has a plastic case, but thanks to the metal-like coating, it doesn't feel too plasticky or cheap. The front of the MIDI PC sports a CMOS reset hole, 2 USB 3 ports, a multifunction USB-C port, a 3.5mm headphone jack, and a power button. The U59 is actively cooled, so there are lots of vents on the case. The rear side of this MIDI PC plays host to 2 more USB 3 ports, a full-size Ethernet jack, 2 HDMI 2.0, and a DC-in. The only thing missing here is an SD card slot, probably due to the soaring prices of card readers recently. There are 4 rubber feet on the bottom side. Each one has a screw inside. There are also indications on how to enter BIOS or boot menu. Despite its small size, the U59 still has 2 memory slots under the shell for dual-channel memory setup. The unit in my hands comes with 2 crucial memory sticks and an M2 SATA hard drive. There's also a bracket for another 2.5-inch hard drive. This MIDI PC weighs only 330 grams, not much heavier than a Xiaomi 11 Ultra with the case. The build quality is solid and definitely above average. It feels pretty robust and sturdy in my hands. The U59 ships with licensed Windows 10 Pro, but since it has the TPM2 chip and meets all of the requirements of Windows 11, you can get the upgrade right after booting it up for the first time, and that's exactly what I did. Luckily, the U59 doesn't seem to have any compatibility issues with Windows 11. Everything works just fine. This MIDI PC is powered by an Intel Jasper Lake Celeron N5095 quad-core processor, 16 gigs dual-channel memory, and an M2 SATA SSD. It's by no means a powerhouse, but could still offer enough power for basic everyday computing. First, let's take a look at its benchmark scores. Cinebench released 23, 629 in CPU single-core, 1544 in multi-core. Cinebench released 20, 234 in single-core, 824 in multi-core. Fritz Cheese benchmark 7975 kHz per second. Geekbench 5 608 in CPU single core, 2009 in multi-core, 2125 in OpenCell. In the standard PC Mark 10 test, the final score of the U59 is 2358. And in the graphics-focused 3D Mark, the U59 got 2495 in Skydiver, 657 in Firestrike, 210 in Time Spy, and the result of the Crystal Dismark test gives us an idea of how fast the internal SSD is. In the real-life use, the U59 was fairly efficient in all kinds of office workflows, web browsing, and multimedia, even when there were a dozen image-heavy web pages loading in the browser, and a few other applications running at the same time. The U59 still didn't skip a bit. Video editing should be challenging for budget systems like this, but surprisingly, the U59 held its own quite well. Sometimes I did have to wait much longer for it to process a task than I normally would with my workstation PC, but there were never any significant delays. Everything still felt generally smooth. This computer also had no problem streaming 4K, 60 frames per second YouTube videos in Microsoft Edge. But it did struggle with videos above that resolution and frame rate. Since the maximum output of the U59 is 4K 60Hz, there's no point to try that anyway. Nobody should use the U59 as a gaming computer. The Intel UHD graphics GPU is simply not designed to do that. Still, the U59 can run some of the less intense titles fairly smoothly. In League of Legends, with resolution set to 1080p, visual effects set to no, the frame rate of the game can stay around 50 frames per second, which is a big number for systems powered by Celeron. However, more demanding titles such as Warframe are simply not suited for mini PCs like the U59. The average frame rate of this game is only 14 frames per second under 1080p and no visual settings. Although there is a cooling fan inside, the U59 is still relatively quiet most of the time. I could only hear it when tasks were loaded, and the noise never got too uncomfortable for my ears. Most of the mini PCs I had reviewed before failed the 3D Mark Firestrike stress test, but the U59 managed to pass it only by a small margin. Since this mini PC has two HDMI 2 ports and a multifunction Type-C port, you can use 3 monitors with it at the same time. This is particularly useful when you have some complex office tasks at hand. The Beelink U59 is an affordable mini PC which checked a lot of the boxes. It has a compact and attractive design, decent internal hardware, plenty of inputs and outputs, as well as licensed Windows 11 Pro, besides basic office workflows and media playback, which are what it's designed for. You can even use the U59 for some lightweight creativity tasks and a little bit of gaming. For those who are looking for a decent but inexpensive mini PC, the U59 is worthy of your consideration. That's all for today's review. If you have more questions regarding this product, please leave me a comment. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.